a whole lot different than from what I mentioned last night. Just it was good to see all three phases contribute. There are a lot of contributors in the game. um, Obviously, the defense played very well. I've got a lot of respect for their offense and Carr and how he goes about his business. Their running backs, tight end. I mean, they've got a good nucleus of players there, and so for our defense to come out and do what they did, I thought was very respectable. And I mentioned Jarius last night. Just his tackling, I thought was spot on. It's just a big tackle, single lip tackles in space, which is one of the toughest things to do. And I thought he did a nice job with that. The Badger helped guide everything from the back end there and get people where they needed to be. And then our front, I thought kept pressure on both the run game and the pass game with some penetration there. We did a nice job moving around, and a lot of people had a chance to contribute. Linebackers were strong. So, and then offensively, Pat had a nice day, which means the offensive line had a nice day. And Tyreek continued to help us in a bunch of different ways. I mean, he's a heck of a player. And then Kels with his play, I thought he just kind of does all the dirty work in there and gets held and everything else. I mean, he's got to work through a lot of garbage in there to get a catch, and he did a nice job with that. And then Darrell Williams. I mean, Darrell stood out with over 100 yards receiving, and then his ability to run the ball strong and powerful, good tempo setter with that. Again, none of it's possible without the offensive line. So they played a good solid football game there, I thought. Special teams wise, again, it was a good performance all the way around. Kemp had some nice tackles, and then he had the big catch on the fake punt that Tommy threw. So, which was a good way to keep a drive going. And anyways, so all in all, I thought the coordinators did a nice job. Eric had a nice plan offensively, and Spags had a nice plan defensively, and Dave had a nice plan. And their coaches all did a good job. So all in all, a good night against a skilled football team that's gone through some issues. We respect the talent that they have and the coaches that are coaching them right now. Anyways, with that time, Jared.
First to Adam Teicher. Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, good morning, Andy. A couple things this morning. I wanted to ask you, first of all, it looked like earlier in the year that it was going to be a while before you were competitive defensively, maybe until next year or whenever. But looks like you've got it going to where you want it on that side of the ball. So how did you guys are there some things you can point to how you got that turned around so quickly to maybe where you're competitive now? And Brad, I'll have a second question as well.
I think health is one thing, getting everybody on the field. That's one part of it. And then the second part is the young guys maturing there quicker than you can predict. I mean, you don't know exactly how that's going to go, Adam. And so, but they picked up the pace and the scheme. And then Spags is relentless with it. So I mentioned the walkthroughs last night. He's gonna make you do it until you get it right, and his coaches fall right along with that. So those would be probably the three things.
I assume you're talking about Bolton and Willie Gay. Anybody else you want to throw? Snead? Anybody else you want to throw?
Yeah, I mean, just take all the young guys. I mean, that have had, we got a couple of them up front, and just the guys that have had a chance to contribute there. So
Okay.
they've all taken it up a notch.
All right. And you also said after the game last night that you knew Pat was going to get through the tough times because of the way he handles himself. How did he take care of business? What did you see from him during the tough times that led you to say that?
Yeah. So he comes to work every day trying to get better. And this is when things were smooth and we were winning a lot of games. He always says, let's be great. He reminds the huddle of that. He believes that. Let's be great today. Let's be great on this play. He's always saying that. And so even during the tough times, it's easy to kind of curl up and put yourself in a corner during the tough times. But he kept that mentality, and he gets here early and he stays late, and he meets with the offensive linemen. He gets in there and gets everybody together, and they do their thing there. Besides what the coaches are demanding from him. So that's how he does. And that kind of stuff helps you without him having a whole lot of down games. It helps you once you hit a little skid there and you power yourself through. So
Next to Aaron Ladd. Go ahead, Aaron.
Coach, a lot of talk post game about kind of getting that swagger back, getting that confidence back. I'm curious, in your opinion, a win in this fashion, the way it was decisively handled, especially on offense, what does it do to kind of your team's confidence here going forward?
Yeah, listen, I think, Aaron, that it can't hurt you as long as you maintain that foundation of what got you to this point, and that's keep working hard and going through the process, all those things, knowing you got a good Cowboy team coming in here. So so much of this game is kind of from the neck above and how you handle yourself. And so I think it can help you as long as you stay on, keep everything focused and in perspective.
Go next to Herbie Teope. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon. Last week you said it was probably a stretch that Edwards-Helaire would be active this week, and you're right, it was a stretch. But like for this week, what do you hope to see from him to change that from probably to a stretch to he is ready to come back and contribute?
Yeah. So I think he has a better shot this week. Pretty good chance. We'll see today when the guys start getting in here and doing their thing. We all couldn't stay overnight in Vegas and enjoy the city, Herbie, like you are.
Let's go next to Todd Levo. Go ahead, Todd.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned, Patrick not having many down times, right? And he's always got that good attitude of trying to, get the huddle ready to go and all that. Did you guys ever kind of have to coach each other up in the meeting rooms and stuff? Did you ever kind of get down that the offense wasn't doing what you'd like it to do?
No, listen, I mean, we spent a lot of time making sure we're giving the guys things that they can handle and can be successful with. We're always trying to utilize the player's strengths, and we'll work on the weakness. We'll coach up the weakness and try to make it a strength. So I noticed, I didn't see anybody getting down. We knew that if we took care of the turnovers and took care of the penalties, and we'd be in a better position. We had a few drops in there, so take care of those. And it was with guys that hadn't been doing that during their career, so we just had to kind of get through that, and we've got to still do that. So we're not done with this. We've got to keep pounding it and keep our focus and all those things that are important to be a great team. You got to do, and you have to do it every week.
I think we've got 4 left. We'll go right down the line, starting with Rob Collins. Good, Rob. Good, Rob.
Hey, Coach, Patrick told us last night he got his swagger back on the game. Do you feel like you got your swagger back in the play calling?
Oh, I don't know. Listen, I give it to him, and then he goes and does his thing, man. And so EB, myself, Mike Kafka, Joe Blameyer, all the coaches, Greg Lewis, we all contribute in there, Tom Melvin, and everybody has a say on it, and players included. I mean, there'll be times, Patrick had one last night where one step ahead said, hey, listen, if this one doesn't work, let's take a peek at this other one. I think it might be there. And we did, and you know, it was a good play and scored a touchdown. So you know, everybody has a say in this. Coach Heck and Corey Matei, they do that run game, and they feed us that, and you know, it's kind of fun to watch how it all comes together. And you know, I'm proud of our guys for being open about it and doing that.
Go next to Pete Sweeney. Go Pete.
Good morning, Coach. I'll have a quick follow-up as well, please. Did you get the sense in your first look that Patrick showed a little bit more confidence hanging in the pocket last night, and maybe that helped lead to some of this offensive efficiency?
I thought he did a nice job with that. I thought the offensive line did a nice job of protecting him early, and Pat did a nice job of getting the ball out quick. They've got a good defensive front, so you knew you were going to have to move a little bit, not because of any deficiency on the offensive line part, but that's just how it goes. You know, you kind of work the pocket and against these good defensive fronts. So, but I thought he did a good job. I thought he was confident in the pocket, to answer your question, and I thought he did it help. Not why I think it helped that he was on time, and the line did a nice job. I'd say, Pete.
And Tyreek mentioned that everybody had to adjust their games, and that included the skill position players. Did it get a little lost along the way, maybe too intensive in the Patrick focus, where, you know, Tyreek needed to change a little bit, probably Travis needed to change a little bit to kind of get this thing correct?
Yeah. So listen, when you're playing zone teams, timing becomes important. The windows against these good teams are small, and you've got to, you know, you've got to, the ball's got to be out, drop's got to be right, route's got to be right that you're running, and you got to stay on the quarterback's time. And so the offensive line's got to do their part. EB and we've got to make sure we're giving them the right plays to use. You have the run game involved. I mean, everybody has to pull together and go, and then be able to do that for a sustained drive. And that's, you know, we're doing better here the last couple of weeks with that.
We'll go Seren and then Matt. Go ahead, Seren.
And I'll have a follow-up here, Brad. Coach, I know that if you look at the box score, you're not going to see a huge rushing total next to Darrell Williams' name, huge receiving total, right? But the physicality that he ran with, I mean, how much does that, you know, I mean, he punishes people when he's carrying the ball. How much does that open other aspects of the offense up, just when you have that guy that's doing that, inflicting that kind of punishment on the defense?
Yeah, you see the defensive guys get a charge out of it. The offensive guys get a charge out of it. The linemen love it the most because they're up there battling every snap and trying to make it happen. And then when you have a running back, they'll, you know, drop a shoulder on somebody and bounce off of somebody else and get those extra yards. I mean, that's it's a special thing. So he does a nice job with it. We're lucky we have a couple different flavors that we can throw at you, which I think is also important. So Clyde's a little different, Gore's a little different, Mac's a little different. I mean, they all have their different pitches that they're going to throw at you.
And then the Patrick taking the short stuff, right? 9 for 9 going to Darrell Williams. I know one was down the field, but is that just, you know, part of the, I know you've talked about the zones and different things that you have to do, but, you know, is that just part of the maturation process? Maybe his one of his last things he's got to, you know, learn?
Yeah, sure. Zone teams, you've got to be able to check the ball down. That's just how it goes, especially when they're going to work at not giving you the deep throw. So your short intermediate game becomes very important, and how we call plays to stretch the field becomes important, horizontally and vertically. to create some space to throw. So all that's important. But for him to be able to use his checkdowns, I think is big. The back's always been a big contributor in this offense in the pass game.
Well, last to Matt Derrick. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, we've been talking the last couple of weeks how close Josh Gordon is, and he's certainly getting more and more time on the field. What is it he's doing for you guys that maybe isn't showing up in the box scores? And then to finish up, white on white, do you want to see that more often?
Well, let me tell you something, Matt. You and I would not be voters of white on white. The skill guys love it. The big fellas that have a little bit hanging over the belt, they're not loving it, but that's all right. It all worked out well. So Josh, listen, Josh is his time is going to come as far as the production in the pass game. It's right now he's attracting attention, which is opening up other people, which is a positive thing. His blocking's been tremendous in the run game. He plays extremely hard. I think he's got himself in the last week or two here in really good football shape. Remember, he'd been kind of out of this thing for a couple of years, so that's easier said than done. And I sure like what we saw in practice last week, and I just keep telling him, be patient. It's going to happen. Just keep doing what you're doing. This thing will pop for you. So his time will come.